All right, let's dive into something pretty different today.
Mhm.
We're looking at the College of Thelema and their journal, Black Pearl.
Oh, this will be interesting.
Yeah. A lot of you have been asking to, understand this whole Thelema thing better, and we've got a ton of great Black Pearl material to work with.
We do. Articles, poems, even some instructions on how to do rituals.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating mix.
It is. And from what I've been able to see, the journal's goal, it seems to be sharing and exploring Thelema, but as like a philosophy.
A philosophy, huh? So is it a religion then? Or like one of those self-help groups, but with a mystical twist?
Yeah, that's
I'm kind of getting a secret society vibe from some of this, I gotta say.
well, that's the thing about Thelema, it's kind of hard to really define. Instead of us trying to figure it out right away, why don't we just dive into the Black Pearl stuff and see what we find?
All right, I like it. Let's go with that. Okay, so flipping through the Black Pearl, the first thing I noticed, just the name itself, apparently comes from a quote by, the infamous Aleister Crowley,
Right.
comparing finding a core spiritual truth to, like, finding a rare black pearl.
Yeah, that's a powerful image, the Black Pearl. It sets the tone for the whole journal, like it's precious, hidden, something you got to search for.
And searching for the truth definitely seems to be like a recurring theme in all this.
Hmm.
Now, one thing I thought was kind of interesting was some of the authors use pseudonyms.
Mm-hmm.
Adds to the whole mystery thing.
It does. But I'm wondering if it's less about being secretive and more about focusing on the ideas themselves rather than the people behind them. Like, don't worry about who's saying it. Just pay attention to what's being said.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like they want you to, I don't know, just grapple with the ideas directly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get down to it. One phrase I kept seeing was, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Right.
And, to someone outside of all this, that might sound kind of chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Thelema is all about just doing whatever you feel like, right?
Not really. It's a lot more nuanced than that. That phrase, do what thou wilt, it's about aligning your actions with your true will. So imagine, you have a unique purpose in life, a path that's just for you. Thelema's about discovering that path and living in accordance with it.
So not about just indulging in every whim, but about finding your, true calling.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes a lot more sense. Now, another term I kept running into was OA. Is that like a group, an organization? What is that?
It's presented as like a system for spiritual development in Thelema.
Okay.
Different levels of initiation, practices, teachings meant to guide you.
Interesting.
Important to remember, though, that it's separate from like the OTO, which Crowley was also involved with.
Okay, so there's a structure to it, a path you can follow. But speaking of paths, got to ask about the whole magic thing. The Black Pearl is filled with magic, mysticism.
Right.
Are we talking wands and spells here?
Magic is a big part of Thelema, yeah. But it's not necessarily like the kind of magic you see in the movies. It's more about understanding these forces in the universe and learning to work with them consciously and deliberately.
So not pulling rabbits out of hats.
No, not exactly.
Okay.
Think of it more like developing your potential, learning to create change, but like in line with your true will. Black Pearl actually offers some pretty practical ways to do that. Like there's a whole ritual about evoking an intelligence called Tyrael, supposed to embody the laws of nature.
Whoa, okay. An intelligence that embodies the laws of nature. What would you even ask an entity like that?
Well, the ritual is really big on preparation, being respectful, and like deeply understanding the forces you're working with. It's not about demanding answers or controlling anything, but more about seeking insight, guidance.
So aligning yourself with the natural flow of things, not trying to bend them to your will.
Exactly. And, it's kind of funny. This ritual, it even calls for chocolate-covered espresso beans.
Hold on. Chocolate and coffee. Now you're talking.
It's like even when seeking profound knowledge, a little indulgence is good.
All right, I'm on board with this. Now, speaking of journeys, the Black Pearl also talks about tarot, specifically the major arcana. They focus a lot on the Fool card. And, the card's usually about recklessness, doing something foolish. Right?
In Thelema, the Fool has a different meaning. It's about new beginnings, taking leaps of faith, embracing the unknown.
Okay, so more about venturing out with a sense of wonder and possibility.
Exactly. And this goes back to that true will idea. Like the Fool is that willingness to trust your intuition, even if it means going against what everyone else is doing, taking a path that other people might think is foolish.
So you don't have to actually be a fool to embrace the Fool.
Not at all. It's about having that courage to step outside your comfort zone and trust yourself.
And maybe have some chocolate-covered espresso beans along the way.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, another interesting part of Black Pearl is that they really dive into Liber Legis, the book of the law.
Yes, the Book of the Law. We can't talk about Thelema without that, right?
Yeah.
What is this book and why is it such a big deal?
The Book of the Law, it's considered like the text of Thelema, supposedly dictated to Aleister Crowley back in 1904 by this discarnate entity named Aiwass.
So not exactly light reading then. What's it all about?
It lays out, the core principles of Thelema, the concept of true will, the nature of the divine, how humans and the cosmos are related.
This is like the Thelema Bible then.
Kind of, yeah. It's the foundation for the whole philosophy. And Black Pearl really goes deep into it, exploring the symbolism, the historical context, how it can be applied in practice. They even have a glossary of terms that appear in the book with their Kabbalistic interpretations.
Kabbalistic interpretations. Now that's a term I've heard before, but not sure I totally get it. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. Kabbalah is this ancient Jewish mystical system.
Okay.
Seeks to understand the nature of God and the universe. And it uses a very complex system of symbols, numbers, and correspondences to kind of map out the hidden structures of reality.
So how does Kabbalah connect to Thelema then?
Crowley was super into Kabbalah, incorporated a lot of its principles into Thelema. And Black Pearl often uses Kabbalistic ideas to interpret the teachings in the Book of the Law. It's like it reveals layers of meaning you wouldn't see otherwise.
Like a secret code for unlocking the mysteries of Thelema.
Think of it more like a complementary system, It enriches our understanding, provides a framework to interpret the symbolism, to explore the deeper philosophical ideas.
Wow, this is fascinating. I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
We are. That's the thing about Black Pearl, it keeps inviting you to dig deeper, explore new ideas, challenge what you think you know.
Okay, so we've got true will, Aleo, magic, the Book of the Law, Kabbalah. What else is in Black Pearl?
Well, they talk about mystical experiences, including Crowley's own journey through the 30 ethers. They're described as these spiritual realms, like planes of existence.
Wait, spiritual realms? Is this like astral projection or something?
The ethers, they're accessed through a system of magic called Enochian magic, which Crowley developed based on these 16th century occultists, John Dee and Edward Kelly. And Crowley's explorations are in his book, The Vision and the Voice. And Black Pearl, they really dig into what these experiences might mean, all this symbolism.
So Crowley wasn't just writing about abstract ideas. He was actually saying he traveled to other realms.
Right. It's what makes his work so interesting. He blends philosophy with these intense mystical experiences, creates a system that's both like intellectually stimulating and spiritually evocative.
And Black Pearl helps us explore these experiences and interpret them.
Exactly. Like they're saying, hey, here's a map to these incredible realms, but you got to chart your own course.
So it's not just reading about Crowley's experiences, it's about using them as a starting point for our own explorations.
Exactly. And that's what makes Thelema so unique, It's not a dogma, it's a path of self-discovery and personal transformation.
Wow, I'm starting to get a sense of how deep and complex Thelema really is. This isn't something you just, grasp overnight. It's a journey.
Yeah, it unfolds over time, and Black Pearl seems designed to be like a companion for that journey, offering guidance, insights, challenges along the way.
Man, it sounds like we've got a lot more to uncover here as we dive deeper into this journal.
What's really cool about Black Pearl is that they go beyond just explaining the concepts of Thelema. They want readers to actually use these ideas, experiment, and see how it all works.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. It's not just theory. They give you actual tools and techniques, for applying the teachings.
Yeah.
Like that ritual for calling on Tyrael.
Right.
They tell you the steps in a way that, makes you feel like you could actually try it.
Right. Maybe after a few more of those chocolate-covered espresso beans.
Exactly. And that's key to Thelema, isn't it? It's not about blindly following, dogma. It's about getting your hands dirty, experimenting, coming to your own conclusions.
Yeah, definitely.
Reminds me of that quote from the Book of the Law. Success is your proof. Are you not? Convert not. Talk not overmuch. It's about doing the work, seeing the results for yourself.
Absolutely.
But speaking of the Book of the Law, we've mentioned it a bunch, but we haven't really dug into it. Clearly, it's like the central text for Thelema. So what's the big deal?
It's considered the foundation of Thelema. It's a short book, but incredibly dense, packed with symbolism, pronouncements, poetry even.
Oh yeah, you mentioned poetry. And Black Pearl has a lot of that too.
Right.
Like right on the first page, there's a poem called Flame of Babylon.
Right.
Do you think that ties into the Black Pearl theme at all?
That's a good point. It shows how multifaceted Thelema is. It's not just philosophy or ritual. They embrace art as a way to explore and express these truths.
So it's like a more holistic approach to spirituality, bringing in creativity, personal experience, all that.
Exactly. Now, going back to the Book of the Law, one of the things that makes it so hard to understand is like the language, the symbolism. There are words and phrases that you just don't see in other religious texts.
Yeah, it's like its own secret vocabulary.
Kinda, yeah. But that's where Black Pearl helps out. They give you interpretations, explanations of the key terms so you can navigate the Book of the Law.
Oh yeah, they even have a whole glossary in the back. Super detailed.
It is. And it doesn't just give you, like, dictionary definitions. It often uses Kabbalah to explain the deeper meaning of these terms.
There's that Kabbalah again. Seems like it's pretty crucial for understanding Thelema.
Absolutely. Kabbalah gives you this framework to understand, like, the hidden connections between things, the symbolism, the underlying structure of the universe, really helps you unlock the deeper layers of the Book of the Law.
Like a secret decoder ring for Thelema?
I like that. Now, one more fascinating thing about the Book of the Law is that it has this section at the end called the Tunis Comment, which has caused a lot of debate and different interpretations.
Oh, what's so controversial about it?
Well, it has these instructions that seem to go against do what thou wilt. Like, they place limits on certain actions and practices.
So do what thou wilt, but only within these specific boundaries. That does seem kind of contradictory.
Right. And Black Pearl actually has a whole article about this paradox.
So what do they say about it?
They look at different ways to understand it.
Huh.
Maybe the Tunis comment is symbolic, not meant to be taken literally, or maybe it applies to like a specific stage of spiritual development where some restrictions are needed.
So it's not about like setting rules for everyone.
No, the focus is still on personal responsibility, finding your own way within Thelema.
That makes sense. It would be kind of hypocritical to talk about true will and then tell people what they can and can't do. Right?
Yeah, for sure. It shows how Thelema encourages like critical thinking and individual interpretation. You don't just blindly accept everything. You got to engage with the material and form your own understanding.
Okay, that makes sense. But, going back to the practical side of Thelema, how do these teachings actually work in everyday life?
One way is through the system of the 30 ethers that we talked about earlier.
Oh, right, those mystical realms you can access through magic?
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you actually travel to them? Is it like meditation or something?
Well, Black Pearl has parts of Crowley's own records from his journeys through the ethers. He describes them in a lot of detail, using symbolism and imagery that's really hard to understand sometimes.
I can imagine. It's like trying to explain a dream to someone who wasn't there.
Exactly. But Black Pearl provides, like, commentary and analysis to help us understand what it all means. For example, the ninth ether, Zip, it's associated with overcoming limitations and getting a deeper understanding of reality.
Okay, so it's not just about having a cool mystical experience. It's about learning something that can help you grow.
Exactly. And here's something interesting. Even though Crowley said he actually went to these realms, some Thelemites think the ethers are symbolic of different states of consciousness.
So maybe they aren't physical places, but like internal landscapes you can explore through magic and meditation.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
And it shows how Thelema is open to different interpretations and approaches.
Like they're giving you the map, but you choose your own vehicle and destination.
Right. Now, another practical aspect of Thelema is the Ayo system we talked about before. That path of spiritual development with the different levels and practices.
Right, the one with all the grays and secret teachings. I'm curious, how do you actually join the Oyo? Is there like an application or something?
That's where it gets a bit mysterious. Black Pearl really emphasizes that the Aye is about individual work. It's not about joining a club, it's a personal commitment to growing spiritually.
So more of an inner journey than an external thing.
Exactly. And that's different from something like the OTO, which is more structured and social.
It's cool how Thelema seems to welcome both, the solitary seeker and the idea of community.
Yeah, like there's a place for everyone, no matter how they approach spirituality.
So we've got the Book of the Law, the Or, magic, mysticism, the ethers. Anything else we need to know about Thelema?
Well, Black Pearl also has a whole section on Kabbalah, which, as we've talked about, is super important for understanding the deeper parts of Thelema.
Yeah, it's like the decoder ring, right? But I got to be honest, Kabbalah can be kind of intimidating, all those Hebrew letters and symbols. Where do you even start?
Black Pearl actually has a great intro to Kabbalah. They have this irregular column called Kabbalist's Corner. It explains the basic ideas and how they relate to Thelema.
Oh, so they make it easy to understand, even for beginners.
They do, and one thing they emphasize is how Kabbalah can be used in your everyday life.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How can you use Kabbalah in everyday life?
Well, for example, there's this article that talks about how to use Kabbalistic principles to find a specific book.
Wait, you're telling me I can use Kabbalah to find my lost library book?
It's more about understanding how these principles can be applied to achieve things. They talk about using gematria, which is a way of giving numbers to letters to help narrow down your search.
So, like a mystical GPS for knowledge.
Yeah. And they also discuss how to create sigils, those magical symbols you can make using Kabbalah. They can be used to manifest things you want.
Wow, this is really interesting. I'm seeing how Kabbalah isn't just some abstract system. It actually has practical uses.
Exactly. And that's one of the things Black Pearl does so well. It connects theory and practice, shows you how these complex ideas can be used in real life.
It's like they're saying, don't just read about it, go out and try it.
And that spirit of exploration is really at the heart of Thelema. It's not about being passive. It's about being active, challenging yourself, and discovering your own truth.
Like they're giving you the keys to a huge, mysterious kingdom, and you get to explore and find the treasures.
And that's a perfect way to lead into the next thing about Black Pearl we wanted to talk about. They're book reviews. They give you a glimpse into the bigger world of Thelemic writing and thought.
Oh yeah, the book reviews. I noticed they review all kinds of books, not just stuff by Crowley.
That's right. They cover everything from classic books on Kabbalah and tarot to newer interpretations of Thelema. And there's one review that really stood out to me. It's for a journal called In the Continuum, which the College of Thelema published for almost 25 years.
Another Thelemic journal. That sounds cool. What was in it?
The review said it was like the leader and standard for Thelemic education. It had a wide range of topics like Kabbalah, tarot, magical rituals, Thelemic history. It even had some of Crowley's rarer writings that are hard to find.
Wow, that's amazing. I might have to try and find some old issues of In the Continuum.
Yeah, it's worth looking into. And as we've been talking about all these different aspects of Thelema, I've realized something important.
What's that?
Thelema is way bigger than just Aleister Crowley.
That's true. I mean, he's obviously important, but Black Pearl shows how Thelema has grown beyond just his teachings.
Right? It's a living philosophy that keeps inspiring and challenging people everywhere.
It's like he planted the seed, and now there's a whole forest. And Black Pearl lets us see that forest and all the different, flowers that have bloomed.
That's a great way to put it.
It's been amazing so far, exploring Black Pearl and the world of Thelema. Welcome back. We're still deep in Black Pearl, exploring the world of Thelema. And before we took a break, we were talking about how Black Pearl makes it clear that Thelema is much more than just Crowley.
Yeah.
It's alive, evolving.
It really is. And one thing I really like about Black Pearl is how they encourage you to actively engage with Thelema. It's not just about reading and absorbing information, right? It's about trying things out, seeing how these ideas work in your own life.
Right. Like they actually give instructions for rituals, techniques.
Yeah.
Remember that one for evoking Tyrael, to get insights about nature. They really stressed the importance of preparing and aligning yourself with your true will. It's like, here's the recipe, now go bake the cake.
Yeah. Great analogy. And speaking of recipes, Black Pearl also gets into Kabbalah, which, helps you understand the universe, how it all works. Remember how we talked about it being like a decoder ring for Thelema?
Yeah, it unlocks all those hidden meanings, especially in the Book of the Law. But, Kabbalah always seems so abstract and complex to me.
It can be. But Black Pearl does a really good job of explaining it. They have that column, Kabbalist's Corner, that breaks down the key ideas in a way that's easy to understand. And they connect it back to Thelema, so you see how Kabbalah can help you understand Thelema's principles and practices better.
Yeah, it's like they're giving you a tour through this really intricate system. And one thing that really surprised me is that they said Kabbalah isn't just about abstract knowledge, it has real-world applications.
Totally. Remember that article about how to find a specific book using Kabbalistic techniques?
Yeah, that one blew my mind. Using gematria to, narrow your search, and even working with certain forces to guide you to the right book, like a mystical treasure hunt?
Exactly. It shows how you can use Kabbalah to navigate not just the physical world, but the world of knowledge too. And they even talk about making sigils, those magical symbols based on Kabbalah to make specific things happen.
Wow, so it's less of a decoder ring and more like a Swiss Army knife for spiritual explorers. So many uses.
I like that. And Black Pearl really wants you to use those tools, see how they can help you understand Thelema and the universe better.
Speaking of exploring, remember those book reviews they do? It seems like every issue has reviews of books related to Thelema, Kabbalah, all that esoteric stuff.
Oh, yeah. And there's one review I thought was really relevant. It's for this other Thelemic journal, In the Continuum, which they published for almost 25 years.
Wow, another journal. There's a whole world of Thelemic literature out there. What was so special about that one?
The reviewer said it was like the leader and standard for Thelemic education, especially if you want practical instruction. They covered all sorts of things: Kabbalah, tarot, rituals, Thelemic history, even rare writings by Crowley.
Sounds like a must-read. Might have to track down some back issues. You know, it's amazing how much there is to learn in this tradition. It really emphasizes that point we made earlier, that Thelema is so much more than just Aleister Crowley.
Right. He started it, but Thelema's become this really dynamic system that keeps inspiring people.
It's like he planted a seed, and now we have this whole forest, and Black Pearl gives us a peek into that forest.
I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners. Thelema's a living tradition, a journey where you discover yourself and help this philosophy evolve.
Yeah, it's not about following blindly. It's about thinking for yourself, questioning things, finding your own path.
Exactly. And I think Black Pearl does a fantastic job of guiding you on that journey, gives you that basic knowledge, makes you curious, and encourages you to keep exploring.
This has been a really incredible deep dive. We covered so much, from the Book of the Law and Kabbalah to magic rituals and mystical realms, the history, the philosophy, the practice of Thelema.
Yeah, and we've shown that Thelema isn't just a bunch of weird ideas, it's a way of life, you know? It helps you understand yourself and the universe, and it's a path for growth.
So if you're interested in Thelema, Black Pearl is a great starting point. You never know what you might discover.
That's what's so great about it. The journey is the destination. And with Black Pearl, you're in for quite an adventure.
Well, that about wraps it up for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge and discovery.
See ya!